shocking to no one at all who's been following this story for any length of time is that, like clockwork, President Biden, once again, along with NATO allies, announced a massive new tranche of weapons and money to Ukraine over the last 24 hours. Now, this happens every week. Every week, U.S. and NATO announce greater involvement, where just a few weeks ago it was considered laughable. And, of course, the idea of putting heavy boots and weapons on the ground would lead to World War III. Remember the guy who runs the free world? His name is President Biden, who warned us all just a few weeks ago that, hey, you know, if you put tanks in there, if you put heavy weapons in there, that is World War III, he said. Remember, he said,
yes, he said that.
Make no mistake about it. He said, that's World War III. And he said, you can't kid a kidder. Remember those calls? I mean, that was him just a few weeks ago.
Well, now the head of Russian defense, Sergei Lavrov, is saying, basically, we see you. We see what you're doing. We do consider this to be war. And so, you know, it doesn't work to like do this on the side, arm one of our enemy nations at this point, help them with intelligence, give them money, and then pretend you're not involved. You're involved. That's how this works.
Yeah, I mean, and remember all of those calls for, no-fly zones? Screw that, because that was going to be the thing that would lead to World War III. Forget that now. Now we've sort of sidestepped the idea of no-fly zones. We don't have to worry about that anymore. In fact, the United States and NATO can't be seen shooting down Russian aircraft and bombing targets. Well, then we got word that it's already happening. As we reported yesterday, the U.S. started bombing targets inside of Russia. Now, you can split hairs as to actually who's pulling the trigger on all this, but it doesn't actually matter. The United States provided the weapons, did the training, provided the intelligence on the targets, had a military guy breathing over your shoulder while you press the button. So who gives a rat's ass as to exactly who it was?
Russia gives the rat's ass.
Well, I mean, and I give a rat's ass. We provided the weapons.
Yes.
We did the training. We gave them the intelligence. Who the hell cares, like, who's actually there doing the button pressing? It's
right.
Like the guy's, like, breathing over your shoulder like a trainer at, like, a, I don't know, like in a
like a personal trainer at the
back,
gym?
when we had college, like in the computer lab.
Okay.
Like, you're doing it wrong. Move. Get out of the way. Let me press the button. So this is Sergei Lavrov. He said last night on state media that this is escalating to the point of we are at war with the United States and NATO.
Ядерной войне не может быть победителей, и она никогда не должна быть развязана. Опасность серьезная, она реальна, ее нельзя недооценивать. А что же вы не доложили президенту, хотя вроде он лично контролирует, что происходит на этих.
Okay, raise your hand if that gave you anxiety.
Yeah.
Major.
You should.
Right. Earlier in the day, the United States said its goal was to wear down the Russian army. Sergei Lavrov said that is an illusion, but it is continuing to escalate between not just Ukraine, but all of NATO. And guess who leads NATO is the United States. So this means that war is coming to our, I don't know about doorstep, but it's coming closer and closer to us as Americans.
Well, see, the beauty of like what Congress and NATO and the Biden administration have been able to do is this idea of a proxy war, right? I mean, this is again what Russia is saying is that this is a proxy war, saying NATO is using Ukraine as a proxy, and that's exactly what they're doing. And as Noam Chomsky had pointed out so eloquently, what's happening is, of course, they're going to fight until the last Ukrainian. The idea is that we're going to use this base, Ukrainian base, so to speak, as ground zero for anything that we want to do for Western expansion. Finland, Sweden now say they're going to apply for NATO membership next year. This is a movement towards... You okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just saw something move.
So we're moving towards an expansion of NATO next year, with Finland and Sweden being a part of this. This is exactly what Russia warned against. So the idea when President Biden got up there 2 days ago and said this unprovoked war with the West, or that Putin escalated this war. He didn't do this. He even said during the State of the Union address, he said it was an unprovoked war. He did it for no reason at all. Like, how many of you watching right now think that he did this for no reason at all?
Well, actually, No, I don't think that. And in fact, we had intelligence last week. We went over this story from a Swiss NATO expert who laid out the timeline that showed that as recently as last year, Ukraine was trying to launch an attack into Crimea and has been regularly attacking the separatist regions ever since. And Russia had been trying really hard not to get involved. In fact, even though the Russian parliament had voted to get involved, Vladimir Putin refused until February. So, you can believe what you want, but people don't just attack for no reason, right? There has been a reason. Whether you agree with, you don't have to agree with it, but you should sort of agree that it's rational and that they are going to continue to make rational moves, and that this is a dangerous chess game because it affects lives, all of ours.
Well, now the Pentagon has asked the arms industry for new weapons for Ukraine. I love this because they don't have enough weapons already, and the speed with which they're getting weapons there apparently is just not fast enough. So the Pentagon posted a request for information on sam.gov. Have you ever gone to sam.gov before?
No.
It's a website for federal contracts. Philip, have you ever been on sam.gov?
I've never even heard of sam.gov.
I hadn't either. Well, in an effort to send more weapons into Ukraine, the Pentagon has put out an open call to the arms industry to offer weapons and other systems that could rapidly be delivered to the country. If you go to sam.gov, which is a website for federal contracts, the Pentagon posted a request for information on new weapons that could be used by Ukraine. The post, as David DeCamp points out, is the latest example of the Defense Department's close coordination with the arms industry, which stands to gain long-term benefits from the war. In the post, the Pentagon asks the industry to, quote, describe the weapon, the product, or the system that you believe could assist the Ukrainian military. And I thought it actually might be fun for us to invent our own weapon that we could say we could rapidly deploy and see if they actually reach out to us.
Okay.
Like we have the redacted weapons system.
Yes,
That
it does sound
Could we
formidable.
come up with an idea? I mean, the redacted weapons system. Where
All I've got at this moment is a slingshot.
a slingshot.
We've got razor sharp wit and the ability to browbeat people, so we can just
Yes.
market that.
Also, just today,
Browbeat
we are now the proud owners of 3 chickens, and they're pretty fierce. So our new chickens, we could
There you go.
send them in. Yeah. I don't know if this is related or not, but the NASDAQ has lost 4%. The entire stock market is taking a tank right now, is taking a doo-doo. And
Because of tanks.
Yes. I mean, you would think, right, that these things are related, given that the United States continues to say, we'll send more, we'll send more, we'll send more. Now, this is also earnings week, and it's a mixed bag of how earnings are coming in. But I think now the investors are noticing everything that we've got, we're sort of sending away. Should we maybe ask some questions at this point?
The Pentagon also requesting information on whether the weapons are currently in production and if the Ukrainian military would require training to use them. So,
Ron Kelly says, silly string. That's how we're going to win the war.
exactly. The United States recently began training Ukrainian forces on how to use howitzers, which the U.S. started sending to Kiev for the first time earlier this month. So can you provide weapons? How quickly can they be deployed? Do they need to even have any training? Like, can we just send them over there? Like, do you have any weapons anywhere? Do you run a business that we can create grenades or bombs and just send them over there? We will pay you whatever the asking price is. We don't care.
And yet we're kind of upset about it when American citizens research bomb making on the internet.
Right.
Right? They can't really do that. That will get the feds following you. But when we need you, come on in here.
Cher Marie has an idea. What about pool noodles? Pool noodles. That's a great. Yeah, we'll just whack you over the head with a pool noodle.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, these are some of our good ideas. Some bad chickens. We could also send some bad chicken. A slinky. See, we just don't have the weapons here at Redacted headquarters.
You know what?
So we'd have to get on that really fast.
What's interesting to me about this, and I've never really thought about this until kind of looking at that article, how much inventory do weapons manufacturers keep sitting around? Like, when they come up with a prototype weapon, do they just mass produce it and hope that somebody wants to buy it, or are they building
It's
to
under
order?
contract. They're build to order. They're contracted, right? I've gone to these weapons contracts conventions before. I've been to drone conventions. I've seen how they do this stuff, right? They get a contract ahead of time to build it out. And so they get the sort of the money up front and the contract spread over a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And it's totally, and it gives them the incentive and the money to go forward and do all sorts of R&D.
But the raw material, so I was looking into this a little bit today because I want to talk later about the environmental impact of these nuclear weapons and weapons in general. And it's really hard to figure out like what are the, obviously this is secure information. So I can't just look up like what are the components of say a Raytheon bomb. They're not going to publish that, right? So that all foreign leaders can just download it and copy it. But, you need, let's say, wolfram, you need certain types of metals, you need certain types of microchips. Why do they not have a microchip shortage when car makers do, right? So there has to be some stockpiling that we just don't understand.
Right. And well, you heard Raytheon, the head of Raytheon the other day in that soundbite we played where he talks about their profits are fantastic. Everything is great. And the stockpiles that the DOD has, they're going through their stockpiles and sending it to Ukraine. And they're going to call us up and it will be replenished.
Well,
and that's great
and
for
another
business.
thing about the gas shortage, right? Like everyone's short on gas. It's Putin's price hike. It's Putin's problem at the tank.
Right.
But we don't have it when we're flying B-52 bombers.
Right.
No, gas is not a problem. We can fly those, right?
Well, we always have gas ready to go.
Yes.
No problem there.
No, the United States stockpiles gas for weaponry. And so it's not a problem for them like it is for the rest of us.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.